Hello and welcome to Eye on South Asia. I am Nitya Karthik.
I am Sunil Hali.
Every week we bring to you news, events and other happenings about the South Asian community living in North America. So how are you doing on this cold days, Sunil?
Well, it is again the unfortunate remembrance of the 9/11, which is once again behind us. And the Empty Sky Memorial was unveiled at the Liberty State Park as a tribute to the 746 citizens in New Jersey who died during that unfortunate event.
Right.
And this place is called Empty Sky Memorial because it's named according to the emptiness. If you look at what was there,
in the skyscape, yes.
You know,
yes.
There was a huge tower and suddenly it was left open. And so somebody named it as Empty Sky, and it's also inspired by Bruce Springsteen's famous song about Empty Sky on World Trade Center Towers, which was brought down 10 years ago. And all the top people from New Jersey, including Governor Christie, who was joined by House of Representatives and other dignitaries to dedicate this 12 million structure, which is actually two 30-foot high rectangular towers that navigate visitors to a view of Manhattan across Hudson River. It's a perfect view from the Liberty Park. And the walls are engraved in the same line and fonts with the names of the New Jersey victims who lost their lives. And Governor Christie, with obvious sadness in his tone, said, "We are here not for the speeches, but for the families who lost lives on that day. September 11 has changed our lives in ways we travel through the airports, in the ways we live, the way few fathers have lost their sons, mothers have daughters, brothers and sisters, and families have lost their loved ones. The change to their lives has been much different as we have come together as one nation, one family, under friendship with common goal to ease the suffering and pain that will not go ever, even if with our best efforts." Nitya, this event will probably reverberate in our minds for centuries.
Absolutely. And the ripple effects are felt 10 years later. 10 years have passed, but I don't think anyone will ever forget. And even worse, the wounds have not yet healed, as we are going to see in the very next story. We often hear about how there was loss, and that was very obvious. But there was a section of the community which also suffered from losses. And for some reason, their story was never told. It never came to light for obvious reasons. No one wants to talk about that community. No one wants to acknowledge that they also went through heartache.
Absolutely. I'm sure that you're pointing at the Muslim community, and there were more than 200 lives lost, at least the one that we know of, from that particular community also. And Nitya, if you recollect, there were at least a couple of communities, including the Muslims and the Sikh communities, who were victimized right after the 9/11.
Right.
And there is such a heart-rending story of this person who is in Northern Virginia, Mr. Iqbal Yunus. We tried to bring him on the phone, but he was not available. And he works with the library of the International Institute of Islamic Thought in Northern Virginia. He's a 67-year-old man, and how much he suffered at that time. You talk to him and you figure it out when he captures the moments. He says 9 years ago when the federal agents come to the institution, because he was the director of administration at that time, and they were just ransacking for hours and hours. The computers, the boxes of documents were taken away, and there was all pain and suffering just because he happened to be founder of an institution like that. And not only him, his wife, his daughter. There were, I think, about 14 agents and police officers that broke it into his home.
Right.
And they handcuffed his daughter and his wife. It was really pain for a person who is himself an acknowledged person. He came almost 40 years ago. He studied physics, and he launched some of the best organizations in this country, including the Muslim Student Association, the Islamic Society of North America. And he says, my real goal is to try to find a way to bridge the gap between this one particular community in the world and his country, which he obviously refers to America, and he wants to find a way that this gap was bridged. And you look at his pain and suffering, you look at his eyes when you meet him, he still cannot get over it what he faced at that time, and he's constantly blamed even today, and his colleagues sometimes, despite doing good work, for kind of fostering this kind of instances and being funded by some unknown organizations in the Middle East, which has nothing to do with it. He himself is a rich man.
Absolutely.
He has set up his own business. He, like I said, is very well educated. But this kind of incidents of 9/11 lead to this kind of incidents, and they leave serious scars in human beings, in their minds.
The bitterness festers and it grows, and then one day it explodes and every side gets injured. The backlash is felt by both sides, unfortunately.
Right. But our heart goes out for the families who lost their lives.
Absolutely.
And we hope it never happens again, which is the silver lining on the story of this kind, that at least fortunately for last 10 years, we haven't had a single incident repeated again. We are grateful to God. We are thankful to the people who watch our borders and the community at large, because they're also the watchdog, and hopefully it never happens again anywhere in the world. Forget about United States of America.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Nitya, going on to the next story, which is about the shining part of it, that the United States Security Council, they keep on rotating, and this time India was presiding with her permanent representative, Ambassador Hardeep Singh Puri.
Right.
And it was such a good thing to see that on August 26, when this eminent personality, this guy is doing such a good job quietly being the ambassador, the permanent representative at the United Nations, and bringing the subcontinent constantly into focus, bringing the third world into focus, and obviously he is trying to secure a permanent position and into the Security Council. And the best thing is that on that particular day, the Security Council approved an unfreeze of 1.5 billion Libyan money, which was to say that he reaffirmed that at the end of the day, United Nations stands for neutrality and impartiality. I think we give him full credit for his leadership. Since he has been there, even his predecessor has done a great job, Ambassador Vijay Nambiar, who is actually now the inside of the United Nations.
Right.
It was a great day for the South Asians at the United Nations. Next story, our own Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who was here for almost 2 months, I think.
She was here for quite a while, and they would not disclose. She was here for treatment of an illness, and they would not disclose what was ailing her, and she's just returned back to India in the last week of August.
I know, actually it's in the first week of August,
right.
Which is now declared. I think it was on August 8th when she returned after treatment. And Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who is the president of the largest party in India, who is the ruling party, I think she had some serious ailment because she was, as it is claimed, at Sloan Kettering,
right.
and which we all know is known for certain kind of disease and its hopeful cures. Now finally it's gone back, and hopefully she can help put the disaster of what was facing her government and her prime minister and his team while she was here. She had of course put her team with her son and 3 other trusted lieutenants to take charge, but it so happened that they really could not handle it. Right. The reality is they could not handle it. Now can she do anything, because she's just returned, and generally she is a very quiet, private person, but it's going to be a very trying time for her personally from health point of view. At the same time, from a political point of view, because her party is really facing challenges in the country right now after what happened on the Anna Hazare movement.
Right.
In fact, the Prime Minister had to back off and agree to whatever was demanded of him, and unfortunately against his will finally. So let's hope she can guide her party once again to a position of stability.
Absolutely.
Now we have our own Governor Piyush, as they call him, actually, Bobby Jindal.
Bobby Jindal.
Bobby is the governor of Louisiana, and he was the youngest governor.
Right.
And not only youngest, governor, but the first Indian to become a governor in America. Bobby, I have been following his life since he was in his early childhood, or rather I should say college time. He's been always looking to become a leader, or he was a leader actually. And he's announced his candidacy once again, and he hopes that, as he says, I am pleased and honored the people have entrusted me to be their governor these past 3.5 years. And he says, I am officially asking them today to elect me to the second term.
I don't think he needs to ask. He faces virtually no competition.
In a way, yes, because the kind of work he did during that
Hurricane
Gustav in 2008, he was very decisive. He ordered for a mandatory evacuation and called for about 3,000 National Guard troops, which was very helpful to his state. Otherwise, there could have been a
major losses. Yes,
absolutely major loss. And he says our state's been through a lot, and he hopes that when he comes into the second term, then he can probably consolidate further and take it to the next level. While there is always a murmur, a buzz about possibilities in 2012 when the presidential elections are announced, he may be a candidate or he may be a vice presidential candidate, as he was called in last time for to serve or to accept, but he obviously refused. We don't know. He's a private person. It's very difficult to figure it out, but he's an ambitious man.
But what an accomplishment.
Certainly, it's an accomplishment. So has there been with many of the others. We have our own governor now in Southern Carolina. She's done very well, and she has a bright future. And who knows, more of them will come in the coming years. Nithya.
Absolutely.
But I have my own, views or doubts that whether he will ever go, at least as soon as 2012, into presidency, because he would like to consolidate his position. He would want to see his party into a swing before he jumps in and benefits
takes it
from
further.
Right. Another very interesting story this week is about this gentleman. He he works with as a partner. He used to work actually with Goldman Sachs Group Inc. as a partner. Unfortunately, his daughter Arya, she's crippled with a genetic disease which is actually called spinal muscular atrophy, and there is a very little hope depending upon the extent of the problems. And he heads his as a CEO a TPG Axom Capital Management. It's a fund. It's a huge fund.
Right.
And he himself is Dinakar Singh is a very rich guy, but he felt he needs to do something about it. It's not about today or his daughter. It's about, is there anybody working to cure it and find any medicine for it? What a noble thought.
Absolutely.
And what he did is he created a fund with the same name called Spinal Muscular Atrophy Foundation actually, whereby he, with his own $100 million till now he has spent, and he is looking to find a solution, if not today, maybe 10 years or 20 years from now, so that hopefully somebody else may not suffer from it. Because he says, I was fearful and anxious that treatments would be developed, but far too late to save his daughter, because he himself is 42. But he hopes that with the money he's put in, and now he has partnered with Novartis AG, and hopefully they can develop a drug which will be helpful to the other kids who may be facing this kind of a disease.
Problem, right.
I think it's a great thought, great idea, and to the possible victims of this kind of disease. We hope his daughter lives forever. We hope this disease is cured and medicine is created. America has been always in the forefront of medicinal discoveries.
Yes.
And let's hope we have a solution to this.
Absolutely. Sunil, you have to hold the thought right there. It's time for us to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We have to break and we'll be right back.